Hey guys, welcome back to the Out Jeeping YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm back working on the Jeep J10, and today we're going to be rebuilding the window seals in these doors right here. So today we're going to be mostly focused on this driver's door since I already went ahead and did the passenger side door. This driver's side door needs a lot of work. All the weather stripping is shot and the window crank doesn't work on this driver's door, so we got a lot of work cut out for us. So let's get started. Alright, so taking a look at this window right here, the main reason why I'm doing this project is because every time I take this for a drive, it just rattles like non-stop because, as you can see, the window is just nice and loose in that track, and all the felt that's in these track liners right here, they're all deteriorated. Same with all the weather stripping around here and such. So I got a full rebuild, so that way all the windows on this door, the front smoker's window and the main window, they're all going to get a revamp of all new seals. You can tell this seal over here is severely dry rotted, huge cracks and everything like that. The window wipers, they're just completely gone and pretty much ready to pop out of place. Let's take a quick look on the inside. And this Jeep is equipped with manual crank windows, and as you can tell here, I don't have a window crank on this because when I got it, it didn't even have a window regulator that's in it. So I went on eBay and picked one up for this that we're going to be installing here today. So currently, right now, the window is just loosely hanging out in these tracks right here. And another thing I've noticed is there's a bottom metal bracket that's crimped onto the bottom of the glass for raising and lowering the window that the window regulator bolts onto, and that's actually rotted off. So I went and ordered one of those as well. So we're going to be removing the old one and putting on the new metal bracket, so that way our window regulator has something to mount onto as well. Another issue I have with these doors is, as you can tell, there's a lot of movement between the inside and outside skin of the door, and you can see a big old crack right there. There's also another little one that's up there. So I think what I'm going to do for the time being, once I get all the old window parts out of here, I'm going to just kind of tack weld this back into place. So that way the structural integrity of the door is kind of fixed a little bit, so that way our seals are actually nice and tight up against the glass and keep everything all nice and sealed up. So I already went ahead and actually did the passenger side windows, got those all pretty much done, and it took me all day to do it because there is a process on how to get this done. There's going to be rivets we're going to have to drill out and reinstall new rivets onto the new parts, and then also the order on which you put things back into place and removal. There's a certain order on how you have to do that, otherwise stuff doesn't fit into place and you won't be able to get your glass into place at all. So we're going to be going over that in case you guys are doing this yourself. You can get it right on the first try and not spend an entire 8 hours on doing this whole project like I did. Before we get started, let's take a look at all the new seals that we're going to be replacing on this old window set right here. And then from there, we should be able to get started on disassembly. Alright, so let's take a look at the components that we're going to be replacing on this driver's door today. We're basically got all new seals for the windows, and all the parts you see right here, I got them from two sources. One is BJ's Off-Road, as well as Team Grand Wagoneer, and I'll post the links down in the description below if you guys are interested in picking up a set for yourself. But I pretty much got the master kit to do all of the seals in this window. In the front doors, we have the two windows. We have the one that rolls up and down, the main one. Then we also have that front triangle corner window that swings out, also known as the smoker's window as well. So to start off, the main reason why my window doesn't work is because the window lifter channel is actually rotted out. So I went on BJ's Off-Road, which they're the only ones I was able to find that offer a brand new replacement for the window lifter channel. And this right here basically just crimps onto the bottom of the window, and it has a rubber seal that goes inside of it. This right here is a little pricey, but it is high quality. This is nice TIG welded stainless steel, so it won't ever rust out on you again. And then also, I went and picked up a used manual crank window regulator right here. Since my Jeep, when I got it, someone previously removed it and never put it back in, so I just got one off eBay, and we're going to be greasing this up before we put it into the Jeep. So moving on to the seals, our main structural component here is our division bar right here, which is what our main window kind of rides into, and this is what kind of gets riveted into place. We'll see later once we pull out the old assembly. We also have an inner division bar, which is a little seal right here. And then we got a new set of inner and outer wipers. They're both exactly the same, but they snap into the door with these clips right here. with that, you're going to want to get yourself a little tool right here. This is for pulling out the old window wipers that are stuck inside the door. Basically, to stick this under and lift it up. That right there is only about 15 bucks or so. You can get on BJ's Off-Road or eBay as well. And then over here, we have our main gaskets. So we got 2 of them in here. This is for our triangle front window right here that we're going to press into the original frame. And then we also have our main window gasket that gets pressed into the frame of the door as well. So there is a few components over here, and we're going to do it in a certain sequence to make everything smoothly, so that way you won't struggle trying to fit everything in, since everything kind of likes to go in a different sequence. Now, along with this process, you're going to need a rivet gun and some new rivets, a drill with a drill bit in there to be able to drill out the old rivets, since the new division bar is going to have to get riveted into place. But we'll go over those details when we actually replace it over here as well. But for right now, let's head over to the Jeep. We're going to take out the old assembly, and then we're going to replace components when it's up here on the workbench. Alright, so back on the door here, and the first thing we're going to do to start removing stuff is we're going to remove our window wiper sets. We got our inner and we got our outer, and we're going to take our special tool right here that's going to go in behind the clips. Now, the profile of this tool does have a little bit of a hook on here, so we want to make sure that when we get it under here, we're not going underneath the fold of the door skin, but we're going in between that door skin and the clip that's on here. So I'm going to get this set into place. And then there's going to be 4 clips on each wiper, so I'm going to pretty much go to where it is and then pull up. That guy popped out. There we go. That's our old one. Got bent on the way out, but that's fine. But you can see how severely deteriorated that guy was. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to work on is getting the smoker's window out of here. We're basically going to do that with the main window still in the channel right here. If you have a window regulator, you're going to want to go ahead and detach that from the window itself. It has a plastic push-on clip that's on the bottom of the window track. So you want to take a couple flathead screwdrivers, push that off, so that way your window is nice and loose in here. And now we have a few Phillips screws on the top here. I believe we got 4 of them that go along inside this door jamb. You want to make sure that you don't strip these guys out, otherwise you're going to end up having to drill them out. Once you get those 4 out, we got another one hidden down here as well, and then we have a few others that are on this main division bar that goes all the way down into the door. And the main goal of this is that we're going to keep the window intact with its frame, because it's a lot easier to remove the window once the frame and window are out on the workbench. I'm going to open this up, and there's going to be a hidden screw that's down in here. There should be a little hole for it. I just tore this old seal out of the way since it's dry rotted anyway. That way I can see this a lot better. Push that back and put our window back into place. Now this main division bar is bolted in with 4 more bolts that are Phillips head on here, so got a couple of them down here. We're going to remove those. And then we got 2 more hiding up here. I'm going to pop this trim piece off since these bolts are kind of hidden underneath it. Obviously, if you have a door card that's in here, you're going to want to remove that. This Jeep, at least on the driver's side, didn't have one when I received it. But door cards are just held in by some Phillips screws. All right, now that our front window over here is nice and unbolted, one thing we have to do before we remove it is remove this weather stripping felt that's in for this main window in this L shape that's right here. It's basically tucked into this channel nicely in there. So I'm going to take some needle nose pliers and some flatheads and try and pry this out of here. It's probably going to come out in lots of chunks because of how deteriorated it is. That should be good for now until we get that main window out of there. Now I'm going to take our main window right here, kind of hold onto the frame, and I'm going to pull back on it. There we go. So now that we broke that free a little bit, we still need to have this so it rotates back and then we can lift out just like that. But right now it's hung up on the main glass that's stuck in between these channels. So what we can do is actually lower that window that's in here a little bit more by removing the window stopper that's on the bottom of the inside of the door. So that's exactly what we're going to do next. So you'll find another pair of screws right here, and that's where that window stopper is. So I'm going to get those guys out of here. There we go. Put that to the side. So now what's holding that window up is actually the door lock rod, but you can still kind of push that out of the way and then try and finesse this main window so that way it drops down lower into the door. There we go. Now I'm just going to let that rest on the bottom of the door. If we come back up here, we should be able to remove this now. Slowly get this out of here. Brackets on that division bar, so I'm going to have to help guide them out. There we have that. I'm going to set this over on the workbench. Now we should be able to grab our main window and lift it out of the door. As you can see, that door pusher is completely rotted out. It's supposed to be a slot right here. That's completely rotted out there, so we're going to have to be replacing this. But we'll set this over somewhere safe for now. Now I can just finish pulling this out of the track as well. That goes all the way down inside the door. Sometimes helps to lift up straight on it and then pull from the side. Kind of stretches that rubber and breaks that bond. Alright, now that we got all the windows out, I'm going to take this time to repair this door the best I can just to get everything operational again, so that way I don't have any leaks with the new seals. So first things first is I need to weld this crack right in here. As you can see, that's separated. There's also another tab right here where that one screw is. It's currently detached from the outer skin of the door, so I need to tack weld this back into place. Got another crack right here, and then also on the main door frame over here in this corner, there is a couple of cracks where this whole top piece can move independently for this door. So I'm going to weld up these cracks in here as well. It's not going to be pretty. I don't have any color matching paint, but I'll just put a little bit of a black strip on there so it doesn't rust once it's all welded into place. So I'm going to go ahead and prep this. I'm going to wire wheel all this off so I have a nice clean metal to weld onto. Alright, so here we have our front corner window assembly that we just took out of the Jeep, and what we're going to do is replace our main division bar and our seals that go along this front window right here. So what I need to do right now is remove the window from the frame itself, so that way I can get in here, drill out some rivets, remove the division bar, and install our new gaskets. So we have our tensioner right here, which basically adjusts our tension for how tight we want this window to be as we open and close it. So on the bottom here is just a 1/2 inch nut. I'm going to back that out. If it's rusty, you want to spray some penetrating fluid on it. This one actually seems to be pretty good. I'm going to back this out all the way, and keep in mind the order of how everything is assembled here. We got a main spring here, but we also have a few washers that kind of like bite into the shaft right here, since it is splined, and it helps everything hold into place. So I'm going to take this assembly off first. Then we got a little washer underneath that coil spring. Looks like a couple of them. So I'm just going to keep that in the same orientation. I'm going to flip this over and remove it up here. It looks like we got a Phillips screw over here. Now keep in mind, on a little bit newer full-size Jeeps, your front windows are going to be a little bit different with as far as the lever. I think it sits a little bit further back in this corner. Mine sits like about 3 inches forward. These gasket kits work with both designs, since the main gasket that goes around here has little cutouts for screws or any other fasteners that go through it, so they're kind of universal, work for both, but they will fit perfectly on either. This little guy pops out of place. It has a little plastic bushing in there. Make sure you hold on to that. Now to remove this window, it's going to be stuck into place by our little splined washer that's stuck inside of here. So I'm going to gently tap on the end of this and kind of pull this and push this through, so that way we can remove the window. You want to be very careful you don't damage the glass. There we go. And then we got 2 washers that are inside this little bracket down here. Pull those out as well. Now we can remove our glass, put that in a safe place for now until we reinstall it. Now from here, we should be able to start to remove our gasket in here. On this driver's side, it's pretty darn dry rotted and destroyed. So I'm just going to peel this out of here. Then you can take your old gasket and line it up with the new one, because in the new kit there's going to be a difference between the left and right side. It's kind of hard to tell, but there will be a little slit on the underside where your little lock for your window is, and it's only going to be on one side, so make sure you put the correct gasket on the correct side door. Alright, so next thing we got to do is drill out the rivets that are holding this division bar onto this front window frame. And to do that, we got a number of rivets. We got 2 down here, 2 up here. Also this inner division bar, which is this little seal, is also riveted into place. So once we get this out, we're going to drill out these 4 rivets here. And then once I have the old division bar separate, I can go ahead and drill out our brackets that hold it inside the door as well. So I'm just going to take an 1/8 inch drill bit and start drilling these guys out. So as you can see, that loosened up there, and to get at the ones up here, you're going to very gently open this up so that way it can fit our drill in, and then repeat the process. Alright, got our frame free, set that to the side. As you can tell, the chrome on my division bar is just peeling off, so I'm going to take that off all the way. Next, I'm going to drill out the rivets for this inner division bar. There's also a sandwich piece of chrome trim that we're going to be reusing, so you want to make sure you save that. And keep in mind the orientation on it goes, because you can easily flip this and get it backwards. I actually did that on the other side door, so take some pictures if you need to. those four out. We got our old division bar, our chrome trace piece that we're going to reuse. And lastly, we got these two brackets that we use to bolt inside the door. I'll drill these guys out as well. Alright, we can take our old division bar, get rid of it. As you can see, there's absolutely no felt left in here, so it's just the glass rattling on that metal, so definitely needs replaced. Now with the frame right here and this chrome piece that we're going to be reusing, I'm just going to clean them up first before we start reinstalling our new seals. So you can use a little bit of steel wool and some cleaner or some rags, just try and get all the dust and crap out of here. And that'll help when we try to install our new seals. Alright, so I have our old seal and our new seal for the front triangle window side by side, and as you can tell on the back side there's lots of little indentations of where there's holes since this works for multiple years. If you go on the top side, it's all sealed up. So what we're going to do is mark out which ones we need and which ones we don't, and then I'm actually going to heat up a little chisel right here, and then wherever I need a hole I'm just going to pop it through, and then it should kind of melt a nice clean hole through there. Alright, next we're going to take our new gasket and fit it into our frame right here. And to kind of help it go into place, I like using a little bit of silicone spray. It just kind of helps that rubber gasket snap into that track a little bit easier. So I'm just going to start with a little bit, and just as I go add some if I need to. Start in the corner right here and make sure it's pushed in all the way. So this corner is probably going to be the most difficult to snap into the place there, but you can take a little flathead screwdriver, make sure it just snaps into that track, and then you should be able to pretty much get going on either side. Kind of work it in with your fingers. If it doesn't go in, you can gently take a those pliers and just kind of squeeze it, and then it usually snaps into place. Really makes a difference when using the silicone spray. If it's dry, it really doesn't want to go in. Alright, so the next step is we need to rivet on our new division bar that's right here. And the rivets that we're going to be using today are 5/32 by 1/4 inch in depth. And some people say to use 1/8 inch ones, but when I used it on the other side, I was having nothing but issues. They were being too loose and everything, so I found a 5/32 works best. The holes in the new division bar are perfect for it, as well as the frame right here. However, the holes in this little trim piece right here are a little bit small, so I'm just going to run it through with a 5/32 drill bit. Most of them are fine, but we just want to make sure we have no issues when we install it here. And with the rivets that we're using, I got stainless steel, so they won't be rusting out. And you want to try and use a blind head rivet. That means the finished head on it is flat when it's all set into place. So I got an assortment right here I'm going to be testing out that I got from McMaster Car. Unfortunately, the only blind rivets they had were only an 1/8 inch in depth, but I'm going to try just the normal stainless steel ones in here. Another thing you're going to want to pick up from the hardware store is actually this little 1/4 inch aluminum spacer, and that's going to help when you install these rivets. So when we install this into our channel right here, we're going to put our little spacer on the end there. That way our rivet gun's able to push up against that spacer, so that way it doesn't have to be flush with the bottom of the inside of the channel here, because otherwise that's going to get expanded out, and we want to make sure this keeps its shape. So got a rivet there, going to fit on our chrome piece, make sure it's orientated correctly. The wider side is the inside of the vehicle. And then we'll start here on the top. We'll slide on our spacer. Then we'll take a rivet gun and make sure everything is held in nice and tightly, and then we'll snap this first guy into place. There we go, that's number one. Gonna pull out our aluminum spacer. We'll use that for the next one. And I'm just doing the two on the top here, and I'll do the two on the bottom here to close this frame together, and then we can put our inner division bar with that little seal into this middle area. There we go, that top is in. Now I'm going to gently bend this back in, and then we'll rivet on the bottom here. There we go. And that one I actually tried the 5/16 by 1/8 inch depth, and it actually worked out pretty good. And it does leave a cleaner flathead in there, so the window won't ever get caught on it. So I got my inner division bar set in here right now. Got a rivet started into place here. Just kind of peeled back some of the gasket on the outside, so that way this thing sets in, and then I'll relax the gaskets back into their place. Well, it looks like we got 4 more rivets that we're going to kind of sandwich everything together right in this middle area. Alright, I got our inner division bar all mounted on there, all the seals put back into place. Now, lastly, we just got these 2 brackets that get riveted onto the bottom of the track over here. And one thing I did notice on this new inner division bar is that the holes are a little too close together compared to what is on the bracket right here. So I'm going to do the best I can on trying to get this attached. So I'll get one of them in, and I might just need to wallow out a hole a little bit to kind of help with that second rivet to get into place. But once again, make sure you take pictures beforehand when you take this all apart, so you know exactly how these brackets go into place, so you don't get it backwards. Alright, there we go. We got everything re-riveted back into place. That should be enough for all the riveting that we have to do. Now I'm going to work on getting this glass back into the frame right here. Alright, so for installing this glass into the frame, we're going to put it in the same way we took it out pretty much, as far as all the order that goes in. But before I do that, I'm going to take some silicone grease and put it on this shaft right here, so that way this thing is moving nice and freely without any grittiness or anything like that. Then I'm going to weave this in through the new gasket and through the frame. So now when we get the stud in between this bracket and the frame here, we're going to slip in our washers. So we have this one that has grooves on it. We're going to put that one on first. And then we also have this brass washer. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on that guy too, because that's kind of what this rotation assembly kind of rubs together on. So that way our spring doesn't get backed off over time. Then we're going to get to a point where that washer that has those spline grooves corresponding to the grooves in the shaft right here, they're going to kind of meet, and it's going to have to kind of be pressed on. So I'm going to build up some washers on here and kind of let this set itself in. As I tighten the nut, it should kind of compress it nicely into place. Once it's compressed down into place, we can finish off by putting our spring here on the end. Then they'll bottom out, and we'll pull our washers off. Then we have our brass washer. We put a little silicone grease on that. Put that on first. Then another large grooved washer, stick that onto here. We can put put our spring and then our nut on the end. Just going to tighten this up a little bit, but we'll come back to adjust this in a second. I'm going to put our top window hinge on here. Put a little bit of silicone grease right where that shaft up here is going to go into. Keeps that nice and lubricated. Put that through the hole and put our screw on the back side. Now we can kind of give this window adjustment on how loose or tight we want it. It's a little bit loose right here, so all I got to do is just tighten this up to wherever I like it. So that way it holds and doesn't flap around when you're going down the road. I think right there is pretty smooth. I'll just close it and latch it for now. Make sure our seal goes around this guy. There we go. And then we'll lock this closed right now, and it's going to help make sure all the seals relax into its new position, so that way the glass presses where it needs to. And there we go. Our assembly right here for our front window is all complete, ready to go back into the vehicle. But we're not quite done yet, since we have the other driver's window we have to take care of, so that's what we're going to do here next. Alright, so for our window regulator right here, this is one I just got off of eBay, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what size the fasteners were for holding this into place. Even took one to the hardware store and couldn't find anything, so it must be a weird size. And on these, they do have 2 studs and then 2 welded nuts that are on this bracket here. I ended up just cutting them off and then welding on some 1/4-inch hardware, which works perfectly fine. The holes in the door are large enough for that. So I got 2 studs on the bottom and 2 nuts on the top, where I just tack weld on the back side. But before we install this, I do want to grease up this whole mechanism. As you can see, the gears right here are pretty dry. If you have some old grease on here, you want to kind of clean that off and then re-grease it. There's really not much of any grease left on here at all, so I'm just going to go ahead and re-grease this guy up. So I'm just taking some standard wheel bearing grease. Should work perfect for this. Nice and tacky stuff, and just kind of go over where all these gears mesh together. Then you can work it on both sides as well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to work on is replacing this old window lifter channel right here. As you can see, the old one is pretty rotted out and just comes off pretty easily. Now these front windows, I believe they are pretty much exactly the same, whether it's passenger or driver's side, but it does matter on which way you orientate this. You want to make sure that the flat finish edge is kind of facing inside the vehicle, where it looks like this, the unfinished side facing the outside of the vehicle. So I'm just going to do it the way this thing is coming off. So down here where that little pocket for the window regulator to bolt onto, to snap into, is all rotted out. But I can see that the unfinished side is facing up. So that's how I'm going to keep that guy. So I'm going to pull the old rusted piece out of here. And then right here, this is a rubber gasket, so I'm going to have to scrape off all of this, see if it comes off nicely, and then clean the window really good before we install our new one. With that off, I'm just going to take a little bit of steel wool and some glass cleaner and clean up this so it's nice and clean on here. Alright, now that our window's all cleaned up, I'm going to take our new lift channel and our new rubber strip right here. I'm going to kind of fold it in half and shove it inside of this channel here and get this ready to be installed onto the window. Now we can get ready to install this onto here. I'm just going to do a test fit because we might need to crimp this down a little bit more just so it holds onto the glass a little bit better. But I'm going to start sliding this on and see how much resistance is on there. You want to center it the best you can on the window here. So that's pretty loose, it just came off right away. So I'm going to take a channel locks and just ever so slightly crimp this down a little bit evenly across the whole entire length. A lot more tighter this time. Just going to slowly work it down, make sure I'm not rolling that rubber gasket. Actually, I think it's easier if you just take out that rubber gasket, put it on the glass first, and then slide your lifter bar over it. That way there's no pinching with the rubber. Alright, that took a few tries on making sure this was tight enough against the glass. Third time's a charm. That's nice and tight on there. Now this is ready to go back onto the Jeep. Alright, so now we're back to the Jeep. We're going to start installing all the internals. I'm going to start with the window regulator, get that guy into place. Move it through here. Another lubrication point on this window regulator I forgot about is the spring right here. So I like to take some silicone grease, just kind of make sure it gets inside of that spring right there. Kind of work it back and forth, and it'll help it from binding or making any weird noises. I'm going to keep it so that way it's all the way to the bottom. Next we got this window seal that goes in this door frame. This is a corner section, so top part's going to go here, and then we got one long section that's going to go all the way down into this door right here. And I'm going to once again lube up with some silicone spray. We won't be able to slide this down because there is some indentations inside the track that are inside the door, so we just kind of have to start in the corner, just kind of push it in, work our way all the way down to the bottom there, and we're going to leave the top end free for now until we slide in our windows. You can use a screwdriver here, but just be very careful you don't puncture the new seal. Make sure it's pushed up all the way in that corner as far as it can go, and then we'll just work our way down. Alright, so next we're going to put in our glass. One thing I did is put some silicone grease on the track slide where our window regulator is going to slide in on the bottom here. And then make sure you have this orientated right. The flat, nice face of this facing the inside of the door. And we're just going to get this inside the door. We're not going to attach it to the window regulator right now. We just don't want this to set on the bottom of the door. And then we're going to slide it left, so that way the top left corner of the window is inside of the new track felt that we just installed. And I'm going to let that sit in the bottom until we get our front window in, which is what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to weave this down into place. This is the tricky part when lining everything up, because we have to make sure we line up the main window inside of this track as we set it into place. Alright, so once we're at this point, we have this front window in on an angle, and the objective here is to have the main window in its track here on the left, and we're trying to get it so that way the top right corner of the window is starting to go into the channel here, and then we're going to rotate this back down, and this should fully have that track on the right side of the main window right here. Then I'm going to lock in this front window. We got 4 screws inside the door jamb here that will tighten all up into place. Now if I open our window up here, there should be another large screw we're going to fit down into the bracket that's in between the door skins here. I'll just finish pushing this guy up into place. Alright, so with the window down low in the door, I got some new bolts bolted into our 2 little tab brackets that come off of this division bar. And I want to hold the division bar and push it all the way to the glass. That way that channel is nice and snug, not too much slop there. And then I'm going to go and tighten these guys down. So the next thing is I'm going to attach the window regulator to the actual window now. With the new glass lift channel, they actually do come with a new little snap clip right here. So I'm going to line this up inside of the door here and then use this clip to snap it on there. So we got that clip on there, so now we have a window that goes up and down. I'm going to put our wiper seals on next. So I'm going to have that as low as it can go pretty much, and then we'll get these new guys snapped into place. We got our new window wipers. There is an inside and outside. The one that has the bigger lip for the weather flashing, that's going to be on the outside, and the smaller one is going to be on the inside. So I'm going to line them up and make sure we get all of our clips started. There we go. And then we got our outer. Then I'll just take a little screwdriver and make sure that weather stripping is rolled onto the outside skin of the door so it's not tucked up underneath. Now I'm going to lift up the window just a little bit, so it's just right on the bottom of our wipers right here. And that's where I'm going to set our window stopper on the bottom of the glass, so that way the window can't go any lower than this. And then we got our window stopper / window rest, and feed that to the back side here. Feed in some bolts. Then I'm going to lift up on the window rest until it's touching the bottom of the window. Then I'll tighten this down into place. Alright, there we have it. We have everything all put back in here. We got a functioning window in the store, which I've never had since I've owned this thing. It goes up and down nicely. This swings out nicely too. One thing I am going to do is take a little bit of silicone spray and just kind of spray it inside here, and this is going to help lubricate everything so everything moves nice and freely. Now the gasket up here on the top is a little bit tight as it is, so what I'm going to do is roll this up all the way and let it sit for a few weeks, so that way the seal kind of gets used to the glass being inside there. That way when I roll this up it should go in there nicely. Alright guys, there we have it. We got all new weather stripping for all the glass that's in the store right here. I'm very happy. Before, when I got this Jeep, it didn't have a functioning window. It didn't go up and down, so this is going to be a big plus right here, just having a window. Before, it was just held up with a 2x4. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this content. If you're doing this on your own FSJ, it's pretty much the same through all the years on these right here. I'll post the links down in the description below for all the parts that I used from BJ's Off-Road and Team Grand Wagoneer. I highly recommend both of those websites for replacement parts on these full-size Jeeps. But overall, not too complex of a process as long as you know how to use a rivet gun and a drill and everything like that. I'd block off probably a good chunk of the afternoon to get this done. Don't rush it. Don't expect it to be done in an hour or two. So if you guys have any questions or comments, make sure to post them down below and I'll be happy to answer. If you guys liked this video and found it helpful, make sure to like, subscribe to the Outjeeping YouTube channel. If you want to help support the channel and help keep these videos coming, check out outjeeping.com where I have some decals and t-shirts where you guys can go ahead and pick up. So I want to thank you guys for watching and we'll see you guys in the next video.